it's me, Zalo, and today I'm back at you again with another reaction. I did get a request to react to the part two of this, and I did like reacting to it the first time, like the first part of this. So I'm kind of excited to get back into it and to, learn a little bit more about what happened here. This is Real Life Vampires, Fact or Fiction, Part 2. Domo Draper returns with more evidence by Dark Side of the Truth. So, we already watched, I think it was 2 hours, or it was either 2 hours or 1 hour long of a video, the first part. And it went over a lot of things about Domo Draper, and it explained a lot about him as a person and as an influencer and what he's been through. And so go check that part out if you want to get caught up before, you watch this one. It was really interesting. Very, very, very... it had a lot of information inside of it. Super packed. Full of information. I wonder what this one is going to be about. Yeah. So I'm here for it. Let's go.
Hey y'all, welcome back, or if you're new here, hey, how are ya? My name's Katie, this is Dark Side of the Truth, and we're now friends. Let me just go ahead and mention that it is about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I am currently sitting in my backyard while I record this video. So if you hear like any sirens or like train sirens or anything like that in the background, I'm just gonna apologize ahead of time. But for any newcomers we have here, if mysterious videos, creepy, unexplained things, or just like downright sirens
Same.
or just like downright straight up truth seeking interests you, then this is the channel for you. So do me a favor and smash that like button, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, come on over and get subscribed to the channel, and make sure you hit that little bell icon so
check her out.
hopefully,
She's
fingers
awesome.
crossed, YouTube will notify you whenever I upload new videos just like this. But with all of that being said, today's video is a continuation, or a part 2 if you will, of a video that I made about a year ago. So if you haven't seen part 1, this is not going to make sense to you, but it is definitely worth like binging this series, because trust me, you're gonna want to. So if you haven't seen part 1, I'm gonna put the thumbnail on screen now. Go ahead and go to my channel, watch the video first, and then come back to this one. You're gonna need to see part 1 before we continue, I promise. But for those of you who already have seen part 1, it is time for us to yet again revisit the topic of Mr. Domo Draper over on TikTok. And for those of you who don't quite remember what I'm talking about, the name sounds familiar, but you're like, where do I know that from, Katie? Domo Draper.
By the way, sorry if you hear me cough. I'm just getting over a sickness. And I got some cough in me. So...
is the gentleman who I made a video on a year ago, actually a deep dive on a year ago, who claims to be a 363-year-old vampire who is currently living his 11th life. Now, he is also a screenwriter over on TikTok, so do what you will with that information. Is this, a movie or screenplay of some kind that he is writing? You let me know what you think. Now, in part 1, he gave some very damning information, if you will. He showed birth certificates, he showed pictures, he gave very detailed stories and explanations. He talked about how he preserves the red fluid that he drinks. I mean, all types of information and proof, if you will, that he is a vampire. Now, did that mean that you walked away from part 1 believing him? I don't know. You let me know what you think. According to the comments, a lot of people did believe him. Personally, I'm kind of leaning towards believing him. But at the end of part 1, I promised you guys that I would keep tabs on this story and check back in as there were any updates, and seeing as how it's been a year, there have been quite a few updates, and I am ready to give you deep dive part 2 on Domo Draper with all the new updated information. But make sure you stick around all the way until the end of this video, because I promise you, you are not going to believe what happens in like the last few videos. Domo takes it to a place where I don't think any of us were expecting it to go. So make sure you stick around until the end. But before we go any further, let me just satisfy the guidelines storylines and just like this is 1000% not factual, okay? This is like for entertainment purposes only. We're just having fun over here. Domo is claiming to be a vampire, okay? Obviously, this isn't real, YouTube. Vampires don't exist. Hello, we know this. This is pretend for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
None of it's factual. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and say that I'm an actress and I'm practicing my movie lines. So like, it's scripted, fake. Hopefully that's good enough. Now,
Same.
in part 1, we left off on part 20 of his vampire series over on TikTok. So I am just going to pick up right where we left off, and we are going to start this series with part 21. So anybody who wants to refresh their memory, go on over and rewatch part 1 if you would like. With that being said, get ready for this one because it's going to be another long one, but I promise it's worth every minute. Roll the intro.
We sleep, the alarms go off, beep, beep. Time to wake up to the deceit. All reality's made up by the elite.
So we jump right into this series with a big start, and that comes with part 21 in this vampire series over on Domo Draper's TikTok page. And this video is titled, Don't Go Looking for Vampires. And basically, in this video, Domo says that somebody showed up to his house just randomly, uninvited, unannounced. He was outside doing some yard work, and they just drove by and said that they recognized him from TikTok. Then they started asking about a car that was not for sale, did not have a for sale sign on it, and just all around gave Domo eerie vibes. So Domo handled it in a way that I wouldn't
just,
handle
like,
it.
coming
Maybe
onto his
you wouldn't
property.
either. I would say pretty safe to assume, but I'm not even going to say anymore. Let's just roll the tape, and you can see it for yourselves, and then we'll come back here to talk about it afterwards. Check it out.
Some of y'all letting y'all curiosity get the better of you. Don't go looking for vampires. It's not a good idea. Showing up at my house unannounced will only get you into hot water. Not me.
He's like, you don't want to do that.
Hey, Mike, just a question for you. So apparently he knows me from social media, and he just so happened to be passing by my house when I was outside doing yard work, and I guess he recognized me. He said that he was here to ask about my car and see if it's for sale. There's no for sale sign on that car. Just wondering about the boyfriend. What about her?
Don't be stupid.
After I told him that the car is not for sale, you would think that the conversation would be over. But that could only be true if he actually came over here for the car. He started asking me about vampires. I then said, what about them? And he started to go into some like long spiel. And as he's going into this long spiel, I see him reaching for his back pocket. Like it was very slow, but it was very obvious. I later on found tranquilizers on him. Why would he be traveling around with tranquilizers?
What do you mean later on?
Anyways, that guy's gonna be my roommate for a little bit. I'm gonna take the upstairs bedroom and he's gonna take the hot water in my basement.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, he had me really like drinking his Kool-Aid hard, and like I was on the Domo Draper is for sure a vampire team after I made part 1 of this series.
Well, not so
like when I made the first video, I was like, no way, he's not a vampire.
literally
Like,
be
this
telling
man
us
is a
that he
vampire and he's
kidnapped
telling
a
us the truth. But then he makes videos like this, and I'm like, I don't know, sir, is this a spoof? Because like this doesn't seem real. And like if it was real, would he really like make a video about it and like put it on TikTok?
No.
But then you're like, well, maybe he wants you to think that it's not real. Because like if it was real, why would he make a video about it on and like put it on TikTok? So like obviously it's not real. So then like nobody looks into it for being real. So like really it's like the perfect cover up for it being real is hiding in plain sight. I don't know. All I know is it kind of like triggers the red flags in my head of, hey, this might be a spoof. But irregardless, this was important to bring to your attention because we are going to come back to this video a little bit in the future. Just bear with me. We're going to move on to part 22 of this vampire series. And part 22 has a comment, and Domo is responding to this comment with a video. And this comment reads, can you turn someone into a vampire just by biting them? And then Domo responds by saying, everyone asks me this, so let's just answer it like once and for all. He says it's not just a bite, but it's a process, and 99% of humans won't make it through the process. Damo's like, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I don't know why you guys ain't gonna make it through, but you're just not making it through. He says, put it this way, in my 363 years of being on this planet, I have only ever seen it successfully happen once. He says, a better perspective for y'all, his mom is like 950 or 960 years old or something like that. He gets exactly how old, but she has never seen a human successfully turn into a vampire. Not once. 0 times. In almost 1,000 years living.
Sleepy
That's how rare it is. And Domo's like, I am good on having the FBI come to my house, so no, I can't turn you by just biting you. Stop asking me, please. Check it out and let me know what you think.
Can you turn someone into a vampire by just biting them? I'm glad you asked this question for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, a lot of people are DMing me the same question, and I really try to get through all the DMs. Like, I'll get through like 25 a day, and then 100 more will pop up. I literally can't get through all of them. So to kill a few birds with one stone, I'm gonna answer this question here, and I hopefully everybody who DMs me this question is seeing this video. It's not a bite, it's a whole process that goes along with it. But the main thing y'all should be focused on, and I said this before, but y'all not focusing on it, but the main thing you should be focusing on is that 90 to 95% of y'all won't make it. When I say you won't make it, I mean, I don't know how to be more clear. I'm not a scientist. I don't know why, but y'all ain't making it. Hypothetically, I've been around for 363 years, and I've seen it happen for one person.
Hypothetically.
My mom is 950, 60 something. I can't remember. She's never seen it. Zero times. She's never seen it. Y'all trying to leave y'all loved ones that bad? That you gonna risk that? You gonna leave your babies behind? For that? Your wife, your kids? It ain't worth it. It's not that deep. You think making friends with good people and then watching them go year after year after year after year after year after year is cool? Why you think I live in the middle of nowhere? I'm done with friends. That shit is depressing. Reason number 2, when you don't make it, what happens to me? Huh? Back in the day, people used to try this shit all the time. But then the FBI was founded. You want me to try, hypothetically, you want me to try to turn you, and then when you don't make it, what happens to me? What happens to me? Who's supposed to hide your body? You gonna get up and help me hide your body? You gonna get up from the dead, help me hide your body, and go back to sleep? You gonna help me? Y'all are selfish. Stop worrying about trying to live forever. Appreciate the time you got right now.
Yo.
I'm talking to you. Are you listening?
I know, he's pretty damn convincing,
like some people
right?
aren't.
Like, that is the only thing I keep coming back to. Is like, either he's the best liar I've ever seen, or he's telling his truth. And I don't know which one I believe with. Like, I don't know which one to go towards. But I do think that this world is much stranger than we've all been led to believe. So I think he has a case, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then we move on to part 23 of this vampire series. And part 23 was posted on November 10th of 2024. And there, again, is a comment that Domo was responding to. And this comment says, can vampires visit uninvited? And I'm assuming that they're talking about, like, your home. And Domo says,
right?
Yeah. I don't like that answer, but that's what he says. Domo actually goes on to say that any information that you think is factual about vampires, like, if it makes you feel safe, then it's probably a bunch of BS. And then, like, he gives examples to make this make sense.
The garlic?
He says, it's the things that we don't know about vampires
They can't go out
that
on
would, like, actually
the day?
help to ward them off, according to Domo. Again, everything I'm going to tell you in this video is according to Domo. Not factual, not what I'm saying is true. This is all according to Domo. For instance, how would pink roses help keep you safe from vampires? And how would you use them? Well, let's listen to Domo and maybe learn a little something.
If you're referring to entering your home or your dwelling or a space you're occupying without an invitation, then the answer to that is yes. I'm gonna fill y'all in on something. And this method isn't foolproof, but it's damn near close. The things you know about vampires. If those things make you feel safe, it's most likely BS. What's up? What's up, Papa? For instance, vampires can't be seen in mirrors. So in your head, you think to yourself, if I'm standing next to a vampire and I can't see his reflection, his or her reflection, that means that that's a vampire. So now I'll know. That makes you feel safe, right?
It does.
Vampires are demonic. So if you're a God-fearing Christian, you're safe.
I don't know about that.
Vampires can't come out in the daylight.
Yeah.
It's the things you don't normally hear about
Guess
that are
not.
probably true. Like, do you know about pink roses? It's a paralyzing agent. Just stops them in their tracks.
I need to get pink
It's
roses.
like nerve gas for vampires. People sometimes pick off the petals from the roses, put them in the oven, dry them out, and crush it up and put it in either water or oil. Some people put it in garlic oil because they think the whole garlic thing is real. But they put that in a jar, like a spray bottle or something like that, and they think that that's the best defense. But just for anybody getting any smart ideas, we can smell that. They can smell that shit from miles away. So don't be the person caught with that shit. Just saying. Don't be stupid. Go home to your family.
Crazy, right? Crazy, okay?
Well, what if
Let
you
me
do it
just
just because you think
side note
it's pretty?
here, at the end of
I'm sure
our
there's
very
some girlies
first
out
video
there
that we
that
made
put
on Domo
themselves in the
Draper, he made a comment in the very last clip that we covered, part 20, where he said, if you like...
Like, I'm 1,000% sure there's some girl out there that just grabbed a bunch of pink roses and some glitter instead of some water and just mixed it together and was like, this is the prettiest thing ever. And I think that if they ate that guy, that person, or sucked that person just because they had pink roses instead of a bottle of water, they looked at it and saw that it was glitter water. Oops, right? Like, people just do stuff sometimes. It's not always, it doesn't always have a rhyme or a reason. They just do it because they think it's pretty.
Vampires and you have pink roses outside your house, cut and burn them expeditiously. Please and thank you. That's what he says in this video.
I'm not doing
And after I heard him say that, I scoured the internet trying to find what he was talking about. What do pink roses have to do with vampires? What is the deal here? Like, I needed to know what he was referencing and what he was talking about. And I found nothing. Nothing. I have been looking for an answer to this for like over a year now, since I literally last covered this last video. And I never found an answer.
Maybe
That
look
is
into
until
pink roses
a year
itself.
later, Domo Draper is the one to give me an answer when he makes this video. So, like, either he's getting information from someplace.
If we looked into pink roses, what if pink roses has some kind of effect on people? Like, what if there's some kind of agent? No, I'm just curious. I want to know. Pink roses, you say? Let me see. I'm gonna look it up right now, actually. What do pink roses... Huh. Let me think of the question. What effect do pink roses have on the body? Let's see. Anybody eat pink roses before? Pink roses offers body benefits through antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, improving skin health, reducing stress. This is the AI thing. Anti-aging, mood booster, aromatherapy, edible and safe. Potential side effects. Some individuals might experience headaches, nasal congestion, dizziness, or nausea with heavy use. Well, that's interesting. Why you should never eat. Okay, what the heck? Beneficial and medicinal effects and material applications. What are the benefits of pink roses? Anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, making it a popular ingredient in skincare and wellness products. I'm actually allergic to pink roses. I'm allergic to roses in general and flowers because allergies. Sorry. I'm still coming off of that weird fever sickness thing. So yeah, pink roses are safe. Interesting. Anti-inflammatory. But they do something terrible to vampires, apparently.
Place where I cannot find it, or he's telling us the truth, and I don't know which one it is, but I felt like that was worth mentioning and worth pointing out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you had ever heard this about pink roses before now. Nope. So then we move on to part 24 of this vampire series, and part 24 was posted on November 19th of 2024. And again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, "Tell me some stories, bro." So Domo goes on to tell a story about the garlic law in Indiana that was put into place in 1952, and how this law being removed may point to the fact that some politicians might be vampires. Yeah, you heard me right.
Makes sense.
Just watch the video and then we'll talk afterwards. Check it out.
I think they're monsters sometimes too. I believe
The
it.
story I'm about to tell takes place in 1953, and obviously I couldn't be around in 1953, so this story comes straight from research, not from personal experience. In 1953, in Indiana, there was a law that stated people cannot go outside or be in public areas within 4 hours of consuming garlic. The law was put into place to make sure that people didn't inconvenience the public by eating garlic and then watching movies, or eating garlic and then, riding in a taxi cab or a train or a trolley or whatever. Then after an election, when new politicians came into power, the law was revoked or repealed. Yes, they took time out of their precious days, these new politicians, to repeal the garlic law. Now, some of you might be thinking to yourself, well, who gives a fuck? What kind of story is that? Who gives a fuck about that story? Well, you don't find it strange that politicians would take time out of their busy day to make sure people were eating garlic when they came outside at night?
I mean, I know about the you can't put an ice cream cone inside of your pocket one, I think. I don't even know where that's at. I just know it's stupid. There's all kinds of stupid laws and rules out there. I just think this is another one. Maybe done without really any real implication behind it, but yeah, that makes sense when you think about it, Especially if you said it's the opposite most times. Vampires are not like the things that we know that gives us comfort about them aren't actually true. They're there to, do something for the vampire themselves. So it would make a lot of sense that they would make garlic, like they take that out of there as a law, so people would eat garlic and just go outside at night. Right.
So I don't know if you've seen me explain this already, but the whole garlic keeping vampires away is a lie. That's a lie. That's meant to make humans feel safe.
Yeah, right?
Now, this new politician came in around the 1960s, and he took time out of his day to make sure people were eating their garlic. Now, I'm not saying any of those politicians were vampires, because if I knew, I wouldn't out a vampire. But if you just put two and two together, you might end up with four. And if you don't believe me, look this shit up. Look this shit up. It was a law to not eat garlic 4 hours before you came out. And then in 1960s, it was repealed. Y'all think I'm lying?
So, is it damning information like Domo tried to say? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's that sus, if you ask me, but I had to present all of the information. I didn't want to leave out, any part. I wanted to give you guys everything that there is out there. You guys have all the information available to you, and then you can give me your opinions in the comments. But according to Domo, this is like a huge waving red flag that some politicians are vampires. It's not for me, but maybe it is for you. So then we move on to part 25 in this vampire series, and part 25 was posted on November 20th of 2024. Again, there's a comment, and this comment says, "Can we start getting these story times once a day? Pretty please." And Damo responds to this comment by giving another story time. This story time takes place in 1920 something, and it is a story time of when a vampire bit and attempted to turn a human being. Check it out.
I got you. And again, just for new viewers, none of this happened. This is all hypothetical. This story takes place in 1920 something. There's a group of vampires playing cards, and the conversation, for some reason, sways to vampires turning humans into vampires. And this one guy who's been yapping the whole night couldn't help but to tell his story. Nobody really likes him because he's the only one that smokes cigarettes. For some reason, he likes the smell or some shit like that. I don't know. But let's call him Vic. Vic starts telling everybody about the time where he tried to turn somebody. Let's call that person Joe. So Vic's telling the story, and he says he's playing cards with Joe, and a lot of money is on the line. Long story short, they bet on who's going to win the card game, and Vic loses. Turns out Vic made the bet, but he didn't have the money. So Joe, being the businessman that he was, he said, "Okay, you can pay me back in installments with interest, of course." So Vic says, "Okay, yeah, I'll take that deal, but what if I could give you something that's worth even more than what I owe you?" Joe, being the businessman that he was, he asked him, "What do you have?" Vic said, "Immortality." Joe doesn't believe him, and then he says, you know what? I just want my money right now. Just give me my money right now. I don't want to make a deal with you anymore. Vix takes him out to the back and shows him his fangs. He said Joe wasn't scared at all. He just immediately said, I want it, give it to me. Apparently it was still daytime, so Vic tells him I can't do it during the day. It has to be done at night. Joe gives him a copy of his keys and says, come and find me later tonight. Vic tells him to live it up tonight because tonight is his last night as a human. Vic says he goes over to Joe's house at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He let himself in using the keys that Joe gave him. He said he went inside, he saw Joe. Joe was drunk. He said he was still drinking. He was basically celebrating his last night, yada, yada, yada. So they get down to it. They go through the whole process, and Joe's stomach starts to hurt. Joe gets paranoid and starts screaming out, you poisoned me, you poisoned me. And he reaches for the side table that's in the living room, and he pulls out a pew-pew. Vic gets up and backs up, and Joe shoots at him, and Vic moves and catches it midair. Meanwhile, Joe's body is not taken to the process, and he begins to dry out. Drying out is when your internal organs start to turn to dust. Joe is just now having a full-blown seizure, and Vic says he takes the bullet, places it in front of him, and he leaves. There's a drawer next to the door, and Vic puts the keys that Joe gave him in the drawer. He locks the latch from inside and then pulls the door up, locking the door from the outside. When Joe was discovered, it was in every newspaper. And this is the 1920s, so this is not TikTok where things just go viral real fast. Something went viral back then. It was a big deal. Authorities were looking for Vic for like at least a year. And then at the end of the story, Vic looks around the table and he says, well, now I don't have to pay him. And then he chuckles. Every vampire knows that there's like a 95% chance you guys aren't gonna make it. Or humans aren't gonna make it. Vic did that on purpose.
So then we go into part 27, and part 27 was posted on November 26th of 2024. And again, there is a comment, and this comment reads, this ain't Vampire Diaries. We can do whatever we want. And Domo responds to this comment by basically saying, I know you can do whatever you want. I was just trying to help you. But then he goes on to give another story, and this story took place in 1945 at the Bennington Triangle in Vermont. And this is a story about how the Bennington Triangle was so eerie and shrouded in so much mystery that tour guides wouldn't even enter. Yet one man was determined to explore it and find out why. Did he? What did he find? Was he ever heard from or seen again? Let's find out.
That's a good question.
Hey, listen, any advice I give, I'm giving it because I have your best interests at heart. I'm not telling you what you can and cannot do. You can do whatever you want. I know you can do whatever you want. Like, this whole attitude, reminds me of this guy I read about one time. His name was Edward Remington. Edward was, kind of an explorer, right? He wanted to go everywhere that someone hasn't gone before, right? This was in 1945. So you can assume at around this time that a lot of people thought there was a lot to be explored, right? Edward heard of this place called the Bennington Triangle. It's in Vermont. He's never been to Vermont before. He has no family there, so he needs a tour guide. He gets to Vermont, he looks up a tour guide, he calls him up, they schedule a meeting. Edward then tells the tour guide that he wants to go to Bennington Triangle. Let's call the tour guide Victor. Victor says to the guy, listen, you probably shouldn't go there. That I know for a fact that a lot of people have gone missing there. I don't recommend you going there, and honestly, if you need a tour guide, I can only direct you to the entrance, and then I gotta turn back, Edward, hearing all of this, still doesn't say to himself, you know what, maybe I shouldn't go. Edward's attitude is that, who is Victor to talk to him like that? You can't tell me where to go, I'm a grown man, yada, yada, yada. So Victor said, okay, he'll do it. He gave him a price. I believe that he got $2,000 for that. And if you think about it, that's a crazy amount of money to get just to drive somebody to the edge of the forest and drive away. $2,000 then would be like $45,000 now. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, Edward was never seen again. And Victor knew exactly what was going to happen. There was a police investigation, and Yeah, that's basically how that story ends. So yeah, this just remind me of Edward. But you know, do whatever you want. It's a free country. I'm friendly. I was just trying to be friendly. Don't I look friendly? Don't I look friendly? I look friendly, right?
What do you guys make of these story times? Do you think that they are like Domo telling 1000% factual stories of like what he or somebody he knows experienced throughout his like many hundreds of years on this life, or many hundreds of years on this earth? Or are they just what he's claiming them to be, nothing more than just story times, and he's just a good storyteller? He is a screenwriter, as his TikTok says. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. So then we go on to part 28, and part 28 was posted on December 16th of 2024. And there's a comment again, and this comment says, show me how old you are if you're really a vampire. Show me an old document with your face or something from a really long time ago. Yeah. Like, come on now. So Domo says, okay. And then he goes to look for and dig out said document on camera. Then he shows his quote-unquote American Expeditionary Forces ID card. And this ID card has a photo, but for reference, I can't see a date anywhere on it, but it is very clearly old just from looking at it. But what exactly is an American Expeditionary Forces ID card? Like, what is the American Expeditionary Forces? I've never heard of that before. Maybe it's because I wasn't like around back then. I don't know. But has anybody ever heard of this before? Can you please like fill me in on where I am lacking knowledge? Because I have never heard of this. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, this isn't a real thing, but maybe it is, and I'm just ignorant to it.
Okay.
American Expeditionary Forces. Corpse Expedition.
This is all hypothetical, of course.
Now, again, I am going to raise the same question that I asked in the very first video that I made on Domo Draper when he showed a picture in that video. But could that have just been like his dad or his uncle or his grandpa or a great grandpa or something like that? It doesn't necessarily have to be him, right? Just a question. I just want to point out all angles. I'm not saying I don't believe him, because honestly, if you're asking my personal opinion, I do think that he is rather believable. Does that mean that I think vampires are like real? I don't know. I don't know. But Domo doesn't seem like he's lying to me. That's all I'm going to say. I would love to know what you guys think, though. The twist that Domo has at the end of this series for us, though, like parts 49 and 50, you'll see what I mean when we get there. Make sure you stick around until then, because I was not expecting him to make this turn. I just wasn't expecting it. So then we go on to part 29, and part 29 was posted on January 7th of 2025. And this comment reads, "What's up with the RH negative blood?" And Domo responds to this by saying that he's not a doctor or a scientist. So basically take everything that he says with a grain of salt. But Domo explains that all positive blood types, like A positive, B positive, AB positive, O positive, etc., have the RH factor in their blood. And 90% of people have a positive blood type. But some people have a negative blood type without the RH factor. Now, according to legend, and Domo, of course, because everything that I'm saying is according to Domo, but according to Domo, people with RH negative blood have a certain antibody present in their blood that keeps them safe and helps them stay, quote unquote, strong while transitioning or turning from human to vampire. Yeah. And then in this video, also like on a side note, Domo mentions that vampires don't need humans for reproduction. They are like their own species. Like a human doesn't have to turn successfully in order for them to be able to reproduce. They are their own species, entirely separate from humans. Because I guess a bunch of people have been commenting saying like, well, if it's so hard to turn a human into a vampire, then how do you reproduce? How are there so many vampires? So Domo just wanted to make that clear. Anyways, check it out and let me know what you think.
this is a real thing.
Okay. Before I start, I just want to say I'm no doctor. Okay, I'm no scientist. I'm no vampire. So take everything you hear with a grain of salt. RH, also known as rhesus, also known as the RH factor. If your blood type is plus anything, A plus, B plus, O plus, that means that you have the RH factor. Like 90% of people have the RH factor. There's about 10% of people who don't have the RH factor, which means your blood type ends with a negative. Now, what does that mean in terms of changing into a vampire, hypothetically? Because that's crazy, right? That's crazy. A person with RH positive blood won't produce anti-RH antibodies, which means they can accept blood from a person who has RH positive or RH negative blood. A person with RH negative blood will produce those anti-RH antibodies, which means they can only accept blood from someone else who has RH negative blood. Now, this next part is hypothetical. I don't even remember where I heard it from, I just heard it in passing. But it's been said that the anti-RH antibodies that people with RH negative blood produce protect them, keep them strong during the process of turning into a vampire. Now, I've said in past videos that 90% of y'all ain't making it. And I didn't come up with that number arbitrarily. I came up with that number because 90% of y'all are RH positive. But don't think because you RH negative that you're gonna get through. Y'all humans will get chemo for cancer and still not make it. I don't say that to be a dickhead. I say that to say, please stop asking me to change you. Live your life. Live your life. It's not worth it. You ain't making it. Also, just to answer the question, because a lot of people have been asking, we don't need y'all to reproduce. Like somebody said, oh, well, if it's that hard to change into a vampire, then how do y'all exist? The same way y'all exist. We don't need y'all for reproduction. That's not what we need y'all for.
Blood.
So then we go on to part 30. And again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, well, sounds like kidnapping if you read between the lines. I'm going to send this to the government, though, so we can really see if he's a vampire. I'm going to send this to the FBI. And Domo responds to this by basically doing a quick skit of how ridiculous this commenter would sound if they called the FBI to say this. And this video seems like a response to the part 21 where that guy visited Domo's house, and he said, like, oh, he's going to be my roommate now. Remember how I said to keep that in mind because it would come into play later? Here's that coming into play. But Domo goes on to claim that vampires or some other non-human entity is actually who runs and controls the FBI. Then he implies that the FBI has a certain, shall we say, quote-unquote, permanent solution for anyone who would be willing to report him. Yeah, check it out.
FBI speaking. Hi, hello, FBI. There's a man on a children's app. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's called TikTok. It's actually going to be banned soon. Anyway, that's not the point. Well, he's on this children's app, claiming to be a vampire. And it looks like he has kidnapped a man. A white man. Yes, I'll hold. That's what you're going to sound like. Right? That's what you're going to sound like? Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and I also don't like to kill a surprise. So go ahead. Report me to the FBI. It's clear to say you don't understand who runs the FBI. So I want you to report me. I want you to. Go right ahead. But there's something you got to do for me, though. Because I just want to see which one of us makes it to the end of this dilemma. Today is Friday. I need you to report me today. And then I need you to report back to me on Saturday. That's tomorrow. Report back to me Saturday night. So I don't want any misunderstandings, so let me be clear. I'll be at my house. You'll be at your house. And you'll report me from your house to the FBI. Okay? That's what we're doing here. If you're still around after Saturday to contact me, that means I'm a liar. But if you don't contact me, I'll know that you know the surprise. But you gotta report me today, okay? Because the app is gone on Sunday. I need time to post this on Saturday, okay? So you gotta report me today so we can figure this out by tomorrow. so that we can let everybody know what's going on. Seeing as how this is on a public forum, I have to publicly give my answer. You have to report me today.
No, to be fair and play devil's advocate, this does seem to be like a little untrue to me and like a little sus. Like I said, every time Domo does convince me and like send me over the edge thinking that vampires are like a real species on this planet, then he does something like this where it's like, maybe it's a spoof, maybe it's a skit, and I don't really know what to believe. I don't know.
Sounds like
I just don't know anymore. Maybe he's doing this stuff on purpose, though, to like keep us wondering. Because if he made it like way too factual, then obviously we would all know the vampires are like real, and maybe it would be too dangerous for him. So maybe he's doing this like intentionally and purposefully. I don't know. So let me go on to part 31. And part 31 was posted on January 24th of 2025. And again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, "Do vampires have any thoughts about aliens?" And Domo responds to this by saying, hypothetically, vampires might believe in aliens because the government has been telling us about aliens since they were discovered during the Roswell crash. Hypothetically, Roswell is real. According to Domo, they've been hiding in plain sight for years, and the government helps keep us distracted enough to not see them because they control everything, and they understand the human psyche much more than the average like public person gives them credit for. But wait, at the end, does he admit to being like a government operative given the job of like disclosing certain truths about vampires to us? Because I'm pretty sure that's what he admitted to. I'm going to play the video and you can hear it for yourselves and let me know your thoughts.
Obviously, I don't know what vampires think, as vampires are fictitious. With that said, the following is hypothetical. Recently, people have been asking me my thoughts on the existence of aliens, and I'm not sure why they're asking me that. And the reason why I'm not sure why they're asking me is because the government has been telling you about aliens since aliens were discovered. Like Roswell. That's a real thing. That happened. So what's going on here is that they're practicing hiding in plain sight. One of the ways in which the government controls us is maximizing or minimizing pandemonium. Now, in this case, they want to minimize pandemonium around this topic. So they give you the information. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why would they give us the information if they don't want us to participate in a mass panic? Think of it like this. If the government was to actually keep that secret and people were to find out about it, there's 100% chance that we'd all participate in mass panic. So instead of hiding it, they just give you the information. They just talk about it. They let people talk about it. They allow these docuseries you see on Hulu or Netflix to exist. They let Paramount and HBO Max make these documentaries on aliens. They let them. As a matter of fact, they push that shit to be made. That's hiding in plain sight. They know that once presented with this information, your brain is going to protect you. So you'll see these documentaries and these docuseries and say to yourself, well, there's no way the government would allow this kind of information to just be spread wildly on the internet or on TV. There's no way. So that means it's not real. That's your brain protecting you. That's your brain making you feel safe.
I think it is.
So to circle back, the reason why I find it weird that anyone's asking me about the existence of aliens is it's because you've been told about aliens since the discovery of aliens. Your brains have been protecting you so much that even in 2024, when they said we found some aliens, y'all were like, oh my God, I'm so surprised. But they already told you about it. They already told you about it. But that's the game. Hiding in plain sight. When you want to hide something as extraordinary as aliens existing, mermaids existing, vampires existing, you just give the people the information. Just give them the information. So for instance, if there was a vampire tasked with the job of keeping real interest in vampires down, he would probably write about it, make a movie about it, or get on social media and tell stories about it.
Like, is Domo pulling our leg, or did he just admit to being a government operative who has, like, been given, like, low-key permission to, like, spread so much limited information about vampires to, like, hide in plain sight, like he just explained? Because I'm sorry, if, like, you know anything about anything, you know that the government understands the human psyche much more than, like, anybody does. Like, they understand the human psyche better than, like, psychiatrists do. Like, they know it. They study it.
I'm pretty sure they have a whole team
so
of
this is not far-fetched to me at all. Sorry for the banging in the background. I'm not sure what's happening. I think the dumpsters at the school near me are being emptied or something. Oh my goodness. But no, this is like not far-fetched to me at all. But again, I'm crazy, so like don't believe anything that I say. I don't know. He just blew my mind wide the f*** open, and I'm having an issue grabbing the scattered pieces because like they're all over the floor.
Very interesting, but I already kind of knew this.
I don't like this. I don't like the like twist that this is taking. I don't like the turn. Can we go back to like just the funness of like, you might be a vampire? Because this is getting a little too real for me. I'm just saying, but I'm crazy again. So what do I know? So then we move on to part 32 in this vampire series, and again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, what if vampires drink infected blood, i.e. like STDs, HIV, anemia, etc.? And Donald responds to this comment by saying, that's a great question. And then he goes on to explain how this wouldn't really be a scenario that a vampire would find himself in, because majority of vampires have what they call familiars. And a familiar is basically an empathetic, loyal human who they use to feed on. Domo also goes on to explain how they have said familiar for their entire life, for the familiar's entire life, anyway. And normally they'll have more than one so that they can like alternate weeks in order to like not deplete their familiar because they don't actually want to harm them. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
That's a good question. Hold on, it's kind of brain here. Alright, that's better. Before I answer this, I just want to say this is obviously all hypothetical because vampires don't exist. You know that, right? Alright, come back to the video now. So to answer your question, in the most general way, nothing will happen. Just like a dog can't catch a human cold and a human can't catch a dog cold, vampires are immune to human diseases. But what the disease would do would affect the taste of the blood. HIV affects the immune system, which then affects the entire body. HIV will infect a human's bone marrow cells, and then that infection will get into your blood, and then that taints the taste of the blood. Hypothetically, I wouldn't know. One of the effects of your immune system being weakened is anemia. When you have anemia, you have a shortage of red blood cells flowing through your body, which then means you have less of the nutrients that vampires need to continue living the way they live. Hypothetically, of course, it's like your orange juice not having enough calcium. It's like your asparagus not having enough fiber. It's like your mac and cheese not having enough cheese. You get it. But realistically, they wouldn't drink it. They would take it out of the package and immediately smell that it's rotten. But for the most part, vampires would never be in this situation because the majority of them have familiars. Familiars are just empathetic, loyal humans. And a vampire will have a familiar, depending on the relationship or whatever, but for the most part, a vampire will have a familiar for the entirety of that familiar's life. Most have about 2 or 3, so they can alternate weeks, because obviously donating blood every week is kind of crazy. Hypothetically, again, hypothetically. And there's a whole system, it basically comes in a package in some mason jars. Now, back in the day, they would literally have to pour the cranberry juice over some wafer crackers, crush it up, make it into a powder form, jar it up, and then you'd have to mix it with water. Trash! Hypothetically, though. Hypothetically, because obviously that's something that happened in the late 1700s, going into the 1800s. And I obviously wasn't there for that. So, hypothetical, okay?
Yeah.
Right? Hypothetical. And of course, guys, this is just a story. Just some stories, hypotheticals. Like it says in my bio, I'm a screenwriter. I'm just a guy who likes to tell stories based off of his imagination, folklore, lived experiences.
Now, I don't know about you, but Domo used this term familiar in the first video that I made about him, and he's still using it now. And every time he uses this term, it doesn't sit right with me. It reminds me of these clips that I've seen, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen, of Kevin Gates also claiming to have familiars. And he claims to be a 3,000-year-old angel of fear. Yeah, I shit you not. That's what Kevin Gates claims as well. Here, I'll play some clips so you can see exactly what I'm talking about.
It makes it what?
I'm already like 3,000 years old right now. I just tell people I'm 33 because I don't age. Like 3,000. I know this gonna sound weird, but I don't age. I'm immortal. There's nothing new under the sun.
You have
My
Who's on
mother
your
had sex
face?
with an angel, was born in the mortal, and didn't even know it. Found myself? I have never found myself. I'm discovering new things about myself every day. I haven't found myself yet, but I believe I'm headed in the right direction. It feels right. No, I mean, I just, like I say, to each his own, you know? I know. You're cute, look at her. That's so soft. I want a kid. Know when to take off. You look at her. She's so sweet. Hey, she powerful too. Yeah, I did magic on my brother yesterday. Don't talk, sweetheart. It's okay. You're a silly man. I can talk to kids. She powerful. I know. Cause that's a lot of people right there. She's sweet to kids, I swear. I like her hair. Hey, why you don't never just talk for yourself? Why you always talk for your community?
Are you an angel? What you just said? Are you an angel?
I'm the angel of fear.
The angel.
Not the angel of fear.
You're the angel of fear. That's what.
Yeah. Those who
Understand
know
what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes, sir. He who opposes us in his heart,
Do you let people know?
fear shall overtake him.
Do you let people know that? Do you tell people that?
Those who have eyes, let them see. And those who have ears, let them hear. It ain't for me to put it there. They know the voice of their shepherd when I'm on location. Yes, sir. I got to do
handshake on that one. We speak the same language.
Nice to meet you, beloved. Yes, sir.
What is this like hidden, like secretive language that they're both using to speak in? I don't appreciate it. I feel like Kevin Gates speaks more in like this coded language than Domo does. Domo just kind of comes straight out and like tells you what it is. But I feel like Kevin Gates is hinting at something and I don't like it. And then like the way that TV show host was like, oh yeah, bro, me and you speak the same language. Yeah, because you're picking up on the coded like words and language that he's using that I'm also hearing, but I'm just like not in the club, so I'm not understanding it as well as you guys are. But I don't like the way it makes me feel. Creepy. Let me know what you guys think about this. Is there a connection here or am I like stretching? So then we move on to part 33. And part 33 was posted to Damo's TikTok page on February 16th of 2025. And again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, I want to hear a vampire love story, please. Have you ever fallen in love? And Damo responds with a vampire love story. Let me just give you a forewarning though, it is kind of sad, and it's not like at all how a normal, typical human love story is like told or goes. But essentially, he tells a story that took place in 1679, and it is a story about how a 17-year-old vampire named Vic meets a nice girl and they fall in love and try to have kids, until she starts noticing that her husband hasn't aged a day, regardless of the fact that they've been married for decades. So what does this guy do in order to keep his secret from getting out? Well, check it out and let's see.
I'm not sure if you want me to tell you a vampire love story or if I've ever fallen in love. Like, the two aren't mutually exclusive. You know, like, how could they be? Vampires aren't real.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll tell you a vampire love story. Yeah, sure, no problem, I got you. Before we start, I just want to say that this story is completely hypothetical. 100% hypothetical. It also takes place in the 1920s, a time period in which I could never exist, so I cannot be held accountable for anything you hear in the story. Because I wasn't there. Get it, right? Okay, there we go. I read a story one time about a vampire named Vic. And apparently in 1679, Vic was 17. Around this time, Vic met a really nice girl. The young lady's name was Riesling, spelled just like the wine. Just like it. They got married and built themselves a cabin in the woods. The plan was to have a lot of kids and build on the family name. However, at the time, Vic was not aware of the fact that not all humans can have babies with vampires. After trying for many, many years, they finally gave up. And around this time, Riesling started realizing that Vic has not changed. Vic's features have not changed. On top of the fact that they couldn't have kids, the fact that Vic continuously looked younger than her and never aged started to affect her mentally. Vic understood that he had two options, either leave her and stop her torment or tell her that he's a vampire. Mind you, this is the 1600s. If he were to tell her that, most likely they would try to burn him at the stake. So Vic did what most vampires do, which was to remain alone. So for almost 250 years, Vic remained alone. That's until he met Selena in 1922. Their first date was going out to the movies to see Nosferatu. On top of the fact that Selena reminded Vic of Riesling, Selena's reaction to the movie Nosferatu intrigued Vic a little bit more. She seemed to understand the vampire's plight and empathize in ways that he's never seen other humans empathize before. After that day, he was completely hooked. He knew he was in love. But he also knew that he had only two options: either leave this lady alone or tell her the truth. After spending 250 years alone, Vic decided to tell her the truth. That night, he sits her down and says, "Selena, there's something I want to tell you about myself, and you might not like it. And I'm hoping that you'll love me the same way, despite this." Now, a little background on Selena. She's a part of a temperance group. During the Prohibition era, there were temperance groups with a goal and a focus on limiting and stopping the consumption of alcohol by all. There was also a focus on jailing anyone selling alcohol, as it was illegal. Selena hopped up and she said, "I knew it. I knew you were a bootlegger." Now, this is not what Vic wanted to talk to Selena about, but he couldn't lie because he was, in fact, a bootlegger. He tries to calm her down and tell her that's not what I want to talk to you about, but she's irate. She's up in arms. She grabs all her belongings and she rushes to the front door. Vic, trying not to lose another lover in his life, is pleading with her. He's yelling, he's saying, "Please stay, listen to what I have to say." She doesn't want to hear any of it. She grabs her coat and she leaves. The next morning, Selena goes straight to the FBI. And that's because she thinks the FBI's sole purpose is to catch criminals. It's said that the FBI was formed to investigate corruption in the government. That's not actually the truth. The FBI was created as a way to integrate vampires into human society. When the FBI was created in 1909 or 1908, one of them, their main focus was to push vampire propaganda. Now the question is, why would they use propaganda? Well, the FBI knows that no matter how true a thing is, if it's unbelievable to the human brain will protect the human. Saying that there's another species out there that lives off the blood of humans and only comes out at night, and they're scared of garlic, that will make you think a thing is not real. Not only were they using propaganda, but they were also using distractions. What if I told you that Prohibition was just a distraction to get all the vampires into human society without anyone looking?
I'm guessing they did a
There's
great
no
job.
coincidence that the first vampire movie came out during Prohibition. I believe it came out in 1922. Anyway, back to the main story. Selena was never seen again because she started talking about the wrong people. Vic didn't figure this out for about 5 years. He actually thought Selena just vanished and wanted nothing to do with him.
So what do you think? Is Domo onto something here? Is this really the real reason the FBI was created? Or is he just like legit storytelling and I need to stop reading so much into it? Also, pause, side note, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Vic is Domo. Because like, you'll see what I mean by the time this video is over, but every time he tells a story from like a vampire story or any of these story times, he always uses the word or the name Vic for one of these vampires, like always. And I originally thought it was a little bit weird that he did that. I thought he was hinting at the fact that he was Vic. But I think he actually like told us in a roundabout way that he was Vic in this story that he just said. Okay, so let me go back and tell you. He said that this story took place in 1679 and that Vic was a 17-year-old vampire in 1679. So if you do the math, that makes him born in 1662 because 1679 minus 17 is 1662. If you take 2025 and subtract 1662, you get 363, which is the exact age that Domo is claiming to be. So I think, in my opinion, not factual, I think Domo is Vic. But what do you think? please let me know. And also, do you think the prohibition could have really been a distraction to like assimilate vampires into human society more easily without anybody noticing? Because it doesn't seem that
probably. I mean, I wasn't alive back then. I would guess so. There's definitely been a lot of different eras inside of our time periods. Especially in the US, where I'm pretty sure it was just to assimilate things into our worlds and our worldviews and to get us used to things. And the same thing as well with, trying to introduce us into propaganda of certain things, if any of that makes any sense. I think there's been eras of those things coming through, and it shows, especially in today's world and the way that people view certain things. So I would definitely believe that, yeah, maybe the Prohibition era was actually for that. What they're describing would make a lot of sense. Oh my gosh. Is that how he found out the FBI wasn't what the FBI really says it is? Or, I wonder. It's very interesting.
far-fetched to me, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Now, part 34 I really didn't want to include because it's really not important at all, but I know curiosity killed the cat, so I included it. But don't get your hopes up because it's really nothing important, and I was going to not include it, but I figured you would be wondering why we jumped from part 33 straight to part 35. So here's part 34, but like I said, it's not important.
I ain't saying what I'm saying that you think I'm saying, but if you think I'm saying what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. And I'm gonna say this, we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna leave it there. At what?
So then we jump on to part 35, and part 35 was posted on February 21st of 2025. And in this video, essentially what's happening is Domo was tagged in a vampire storytime video about the New Orleans vampires, okay? Somebody posted a storytime about how they were in New Orleans and they were talking about these vampires that are going on in New Orleans. And somebody else commented on that video, tagging Domo Draper in it and saying, Domo Draper, is this true or not? So essentially, they want Domo Draper to watch this video and tell his opinion on whether this guy is telling the truth or not. So Domo does exactly that. Domo watches the video and reacts and gives his opinion on whether he believes it is fake or not. And according to Domo, everything that this gentleman is about to say is true. He just said it doesn't apply to all the vampires in the world. There's only a small group of vampires that this applies to. And then Domo goes on to talk about a small group of vampires that live in New Orleans or reside in New Orleans that are savages and do not have familiars. And basically, according to Domo, these small group of vampires would do anything in order to survive. Also, in part 35, you're gonna hear Domo talk in some weird vampire familiar tongue chant type mantra. I don't know what this is, but I don't like it. He's talking directly to his familiars, so I'm gonna go ahead and assume that this is the language he uses to communicate with his familiars, some type of vampire language. I don't know, because I'm not a vampire, I'm not a familiar, but I don't like it. It reminds me very much of speaking in tongues, and I don't know, I'm just not here for it. Check it out.
So we got plenty of stories of niggas going downtown trying to meet them people, the vampire people downtown. Yeah, because they got vampires downtown in New Orleans. And them people was never found again.
Yeah, that's true. I gave you a few stories of where people came up missing in this playlist.
But then they got the stories of the people that's vampires out there that actually got volunteers that come out there to really want to get their blood drawn from the people.
He's referring to familiars. And honestly, he seems a little disgusted by them, what's wrong with you? When in fact, y'all should be thanking them. Y'all should be thanking familiars. This is all hypothetical, but shout out to the familiars.
Y'all crazy. So be careful when you going down there in them vortexes in New Orleans, French Quarters, you heard me? You gonna run into them vampires, the werewolves, the witches, the voodoo priestesses, and you heard me, the voodoo queens. You gonna run into all of them, but don't get kidnapped dealing with them vampires, you heard me?
He's right to an extent. You should always be careful about who you spend your time with. That goes for humans dealing with humans. What he's doing is mixing up good apples and bad apples, because there's no vampire that's gonna kidnap somebody when they have familiars already. The fuck you gonna kidnap you for? Now, everybody else he just mentioned, I have nothing to say on that because that's not my place to talk on that. I will say, though, that, hypothetically, if witches were real, I would stop talking about them. The other ones don't care. I would stop talking about them. Hypothetically.
Man, they got stories where people that went in them bars where them vampires at, and they don't know if they was being served blood or not, you heard me? They don't know if they was being served blood.
Again, and this is hypothetical. Y'all should be thanking familiars, because familiars supply vampires with a limited commodity product. It's very valuable what they give to vampires. So one, vampires aren't wasting blood on humans, and two, blood has a very distinct taste. You'll know if you're drinking blood.
I know.
They feel as though when they left, it was getting
done it before an
dizzy, they
accident.
felt
You cut
nauseated, they
yourself,
started
you
getting
lick the
sick.
food.
You heard me?
Yeah.
A lot of them people was going home and came back with all type of blood clots, all type of...
Now, I'm not trying to say that there are not bad vampires out there. What I'm trying to...
People, especially humans, definitely drink their own blood. Come on. At least once you pricked your finger and were like, oh my god, ow, and then you, licked it. I'm sure of it. It's happened to almost everybody.
Get across is that the majority of them
tastes like iron.
do not
Penny.
participate in that weird activity. But what this sounds like is that someone wanted to be changed. It sounds like somebody wanted to be changed. You tried it and then you got sick. I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to put a video out there to say, do not try it. It's not worth it. It's painful. 90 to 95% of y'all ain't making it, which means 90 to 95% of y'all will go through the worst pain you have ever gone through in your life, and then right after that, you will cease to exist. It's not worth it. Hypothetically, of course.
So, them vampire people downtown, some of them cool, you heard me? But some of them, they up there doing anything to survive. Yeah, you want to get your blood drawn from these people? Go downtown by them vampire people. They'll take some of your blood.
Ain't nothing he's saying is a lie. But the group he's describing is a real tiny group. Tiny group. Because the majority of us have familiars. But still be careful where you go. If you're a tourist out there, you better ask around. Because the vampires he's describing are the lowest of the low. No familiar would want to help them. And if they can't get the help from a familiar, they are going to do what they got to do to survive. He ain't wrong about that.
So then we jump on to part 36, and part 36 was posted on March 20th of 2025. And again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, is he really a vampire? And Domo goes on to say, yes, I am really a vampire. But then he also explains a quote-unquote vampire superpower, or basically how they possess the power of persuasion. According to Domo, one way to use it is to touch a human with the sweat on a vampire's palm of their hand. Basically, the sweat works its way into the human's bloodstream and acts almost as like alcohol or liquid courage. And now the human is very susceptible to persuasion by the vampire to do basically whatever the vampire wants them to do. Domo also explains in this video how vampires were created by witches using witchcraft. And then he goes on to talk about who is stronger or more dangerous, girl vampires or boy vampires. Check it out.
Okay, that's interesting.
Of course not. What I'm about to say is obviously hypothetical and is not real. It's not based in any facts. It's just stories. Vampires have a dangerous ability, and I call it a dangerous ability because whether or not you're bad or good, the ability tends to sway bad. It's an ability that vampires control, but they also don't control. I wouldn't call it mind control. What I would call it is very strong persuasion. It basically does to women what women naturally do to men. One way to use this ability is by touching a human with the sweat that comes out of their palms. Once that sweat starts to seep into a human's bloodstream, it's kind of like liquid courage, like alcohol. So with that sweat now in your bloodstream, you're very susceptible to what the vampire wants you to do. Vampires were created through magic, through witchcraft. And like everything else, it was created by a female. And I believe the female magicians, the witches who created vampires, gave vampires a power that women already have. Let's be real. Men are obsessed with women. Women are not obsessed with men. You get where I'm going with this? And this is why some people will say female vampires are more dangerous than male vampires because they honed this power way earlier than male vampires. Not only that, male vampires can't use this power on other vampires, but female vampires can use this on male vampires. Now, here's the bad part about it, and it's hard to explain because, again, I'm not a scientist. I'm just speaking from, I've done research. From what I'm hearing, depending on who the person is, they might be susceptible to a vampire's influence by just engaging with that vampire. So if you're listening to that vampire talk all the time, or you're watching that vampire talk all the time, you just have eyes on that vampire all the time. Some people tend to find themselves enthralled by said vampire. So for instance, if you find yourself having intense dreams about somebody you have never met before, so intense, vivid dreams, that person might be a vampire. I mean, you could also have dreams about a human, and you know, if you find yourself wanting to do things that you have never done before, with or for a person, that person might be a vampire. And it doesn't happen a lot. Like the person that this happens to would have to be susceptible to it before they even met the vampire. I just mentioned that they're good and bad vampires. The good vampires would stay away from that person, knowing that it's not really them. You know, it's the connection that's making them act this way. But bad vampires will absolutely take advantage of you. If you find yourself to be infatuated, enthralled, obsessed with somebody you don't know, try your best to disconnect from that person, because that person might be a vampire. This is all hypothetical though. Remember, I am a TikToker. I'm not a scientist, just a goofy guy. It's fictional.
So then we go on to part 37 of this vampire series, and part 37 was posted on March 24th of 2025. And again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, "Can a person be a vampire without knowing it?" And Domo goes on to answer this question basically by just saying no. You would have certain urges and cravings since birth, and there's essentially no way that you wouldn't know. He also goes on to answer some other common misconceptions that people have about vampires. Just check it out.
I see people asking me this in the comments a lot, and also DMing me the same question. I try to answer all the questions, but I'm only one being. I'm only one human, and I'm only one person. I can't answer all the DMs, so I figured I'd just answer it right here. But before I answer it, I just want to let you know why I was reluctant to answer the question or even address it. There's a lot of people out there who don't believe what I'm saying, and that's cool. You know, I get it. You know, there's a lot of liars out there. You know, a lot of lies being told out there. And the best part of believe is in the middle. So while there are people who don't believe anything I'm saying right now, there are people who just don't believe my warnings. I made a video about how 90% of people won't make it through the process, quote unquote. After I posted that video, I had hundreds of people asking me in the DMs if I could change them. Even after the warning I gave them, they still said, let's do it. Can a person be a vampire without knowing it? Absolutely not. There's no way you wouldn't know. Every being has its urges, and those urges would be obvious at birth. You would know you were a vampire the same way a human would know it needs oxygen. Now I know after saying that, somebody out here is going to try to do something that they shouldn't be doing. Hey, it's your life, do whatever you want. But before I go, let me address some other questions I've been seeing a lot. Can I see myself in the mirror? There's a playlist on my account called Not a Series, because it's not a series, but I'm in the mirror a lot. So take from that what you will. I've never seen a vampire with gray hair in the movies. You stupid bitch, look up Dracula. Can vampires procreate with humans? The question is not can they, it's when are they not? Can vampires walk in the sun? Just wait like 2 seconds. Wait 2 seconds, I'm gonna show you.
So then we go on to part 38, and part 38 was posted on March 27th of 2025. Yet again, there's a comment, and this comment says, "Hey Domo, have you ever seen the trailer of the movie Sinners?" Domo thinks that this movie was loosely based on his real life, because he has a twin brother. Actually two, I think there might be triplets. And he's a vampire who has told his story, and Domo says that he was alive back then. Domo says that him and his brother really enjoy like going to the movies, and they watch movies all the time, which is another trait that these twin brothers in this movie had. Also, in part 38, in the background, you can hear Damo's older brother kind of getting on him again for sharing the story, similar to what happened in our very first video that we made on this Domo Draper series. Now, in the first one, his brother was like kind of like bitching at him and telling him like, stop sharing this, you're making it dangerous for us. And this one, he's kind of just like laughing at him, like, I wondered when you were going to talk about the movie Sinners. It's kind of like more lighthearted than it was the first time, but you do hear the brother in the background, which is the first time that we've heard him since the first video I covered on this. So I just wanted to mention that. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, so I'm just making sure. Sinners, you're talking about the movie with Michael B. Jordan, where he plays a twin, and his twin becomes a vampire? Yeah, I seen it. Listen, anything Michael B. Jordan's doing, I'm happy for him. I love me some Michael B. Jordan. Ryan Coogler?
He was really
Don't
good.
get me started on Ryan Coogler. Bro is paving the way for people like me. But with that said, I just find it crazy, for no particular reason, that I didn't get the promo bag for this one.
Duh.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt like this was a layup. It's a layup. It's weird. It's just weird. And some of y'all might be thinking to yourself, well, why is that weird? It's because I was waiting for the day you was gonna do this. It's because I have a brother. Too much. Now you about to do too much for a promo that you was never up for. Yeah, because I have a brother. Shut the fuck. I'm into movies. You know, I love watching movies. Me and my brother watch movies all the time. We are also hypothetically. This hypothetical thing you keep doing, you think it's funny. Keep laughing. Keep laughing. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how I didn't get the promo bag for this one. It's crazy, but I'm gonna see it in IMAX. Max, we coming to see you, Michael B.
So then we move on to part 39, and part 39 was posted on April 10th of 2025. And again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, "Bro, can't you just give us vampire content more often, please?" Because he hadn't posted anything since March 27th. It's been a couple weeks, and people are getting antsy. So Domo goes on to give more vampire content like he was asked. And this time he tells a story that apparently took place in 1683. And this is a story of two rival towns in North Carolina who sat on either side of a river. One town was spiritual, and the other town was religious. One day, one of these towns came into contact with a vampire. How did the town handle the interaction? And how does this story relate to the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts? Well, let's watch Domo as he connects the dots and explains that connection. Check it out.
I got you. This story takes place in 1683 in North Carolina. There were these two towns that lived on opposite sides of the French Broad River. They were constantly going back and forth, like little fights here and there. Like there was a feud between these two towns as they just disagreed fundamentally on almost everything. Both sides were very spiritual, but one side was very much so religious. One side thought that the land, including the river, belonged to them. It was given to them by their lord, and they thought that they could do whatever they want with the land. The other side believed that the land, including the river, was for everyone. This river was the largest river in the area, which means it gave everyone who lived around it an abundance of food, water, nutrients. They fished in this river. They hunted deer by this river, and so on and so forth. As time went on, the feud between the two towns started to get violent. So finally, the heads of both towns had a meeting, and they both agreed that it would be best if the two towns just separated. But separating now means one side is going to lose out on all the abundance of the river. So for the purposes of this story, I'm going to say there's a religious town and a spiritual town. The leader of the spiritual town suggested that so that no one loses out on the river, they just split the river. The idea was to dam the river and have it split going left, split going right. The leader of the religious town went back to his town and he told the people what was suggested. Immediately, everyone in that town was up in arms because in their mind, their God gave the river and the land to them. Instead of coming back with a counteroffer, the religious town decided it's time to get rid of the spiritual town. So the religious leader went back to the spiritual leader. They had a conversation. At the end of that conversation, it was decided that they both agreed that the river should be split. In believing that they had finally come to a resolution and things would just get a little bit better in the town, there was a celebration. The spiritual town planned a 5-day feast in which they cook everything. It's kind of like a potluck kind of thing, and everyone just, everyone brings something. There's people cooking there. It's music, libations. Anyway, on day one of the celebration, a strange woman walked into the town. She was pale. Let's call her Victoria. Victoria was obviously weak. She could barely stand on her own. She could barely speak. The elder who found her, who helped her up, was trying to give her water, and she was refusing the water. And all he could hear from her was goat. So just trying to help her out as best as he could, he went into the stables and got her goat's milk. She refused the goat's milk. And she crawled over to the goat, and she laid her fangs into that goat. The elder was obviously scared. He was freaking out. At this time, there have only been tales of vampires, and he's now seeing it in the flesh. And luckily for Victoria, This elder was a compassionate and empathetic elder. He skipped the entire first night of the feast, and he stayed in the stables, and they talked all night. Victoria explained her situation. The elder understood, and the next day he brought her into the town. Obviously, people were skeptical at first and kind of kept their distance, but then Victoria started showing how useful she could be. While one fisherman would catch 5 fish a day, she would catch 20. While it would take a few days to find and kill a deer and bring it back to the town, she killed 2 in a day. Victoria kind of explained to them that, she just wants to find a home. She ran away from where she was from, and she likes being there. She wanted to be there. By the end of the feast, the entire town was in love with Victoria the way Victoria was in love with them. Now, the morning after the last feast, this is about 4 o'clock in the morning, the sun hasn't even come up yet. The religious side crossed the river and slaughtered the entire spiritual town. Victoria was out fishing so that the town can eat breakfast. When she got back to the town and realized what happened, Victoria was upset, and she sniffed her way to the religious town. If the scent of their sweat and blood wasn't enough, Victoria got confirmation as to who committed these crimes when they heard the religious side celebrating the same way the spiritual side was celebrating the night before. It took Victoria 20 minutes to destroy the entire town. Some people got away, and that's only because Victoria allowed them to get away. After that, Victoria stayed on the land and made it a sanctuary for other runaways to come, be family, be in community. Victoria was running away from Romania, Transylvania, to be exact. She loved her home. She just couldn't stay there with the type of people that were there. So she renamed the town that she was in now, Transylvania Town, currently known as Transylvania County, North Carolina. Obviously, this is all hypothetical though, right? Oh, the people that Victoria allowed to escape, they made their way to Massachusetts. Salem, Massachusetts.
Crazy, right? Like, the survivors of this town, fled to Salem, Massachusetts, and, probably told their kids these stories, and that's why, their ancestors were like, you're a witch, you're a witch. They were on, high alert. I mean, maybe it's fake, maybe it's not real, but, wouldn't it be crazy? Insane, right? I wish I had a better vocabulary, because, this is the only word I can constantly think of, is how crazy this is. But we're not done yet. Make sure you stick around, because I promise you, when we get to parts 49 and 50, you are not ready for the turn that this story is going to take. Just you wait. So then we go on to part 40, and part 40 was posted on April 11th of 2025, so the very next day. And this video is kind of a shorter video, and Domo just covers 5 misconceptions commonly thought of about vampires. He goes over things like how vampires age compared to humans, how vampires can eat food and drink blood. They don't only have to survive on blood. He goes over the vampire reflection misconception, how vampires have to avoid sunlight, and he also touches on the misconception that vampires are always cold to the touch. Check it out. Maybe you'll learn a thing or two about vampires.
5 misconceptions of vampires. And remember, if you find any of this interesting, remember to like, follow, and share, comment, all that good stuff. Thank you. All right, without further ado, number 1, vampires don't age. False. Vampires age. Vampires just don't age the same way humans age. But when they age slower, not only that, they can age backwards. You guys watch a lot of movies about vampires, but if you want to watch a movie and learn about vampires, I'd watch the movie El Conde. It's on Netflix, El Conde. 2, vampires don't eat food, they only drink blood. False. Vampires eat the same foods that humans eat, excluding certain spices, but for the most part, vampires eat the same foods humans eat. They just need different nutrients than humans, so yes, blood will be a part of that 5-course meal. 3, vampires don't have reflections. If a vampire didn't have a reflection, how the fuck would they be able to hide from y'all for so long? Come on, man. That's a stupid one. 4, vampires have to avoid the sunlight. Don't let Blade fool you. He ain't the only day walker. Vampires walk around in the day all the time. But what a vampire will do is wear sunglasses on a day where you really don't need sunglasses. It's not because they can't be in the sunlight, it's because their eyes are just more sensitive. 5, vampires will always be cold to the touch. Just like humans, sometimes they're hot, sometimes they're cold. Just depends on if they're eating. If you like this, remember to share, because what the fuck am I doing? Why am I spreading the word if you ain't spreading the word?
And this is all hypothetical, of course.
So then we go on to part 41 of this vampire series, and part 41 was posted on April 21st of 2025. Yet again, there's a comment, and this comment reads, "You should be a politician. Your ability to convince people in 2025."
I remember him saying that they went to the grocery stores to hunt. But why would you go to the grocery store to hunt if you already have a familiar? I'm saying the word wrong. If we already have a familiar, right? That's interesting. That's like a gap right there, I think, right? Because I remember him saying, we go out in the sunlight all the time. We go out in the sunlight all the time. I have to go to the grocery store just like you. Huh? And then we're like, why do you have to go to the grocery store? You're a vampire. You don't eat like human food. And he said, because we go there to hunt. But if you're hunting, does that mean like you're part of the bad vampires instead of New Orleans that don't have familiars? Because otherwise you already have a familiar, which means you already have blood on hand whenever you want it. Aren't I right? I'm confused. What do you guys think about that in the comments? I don't understand this one.
That vampires exist is amazing. Great job. And Domo responds to this by saying, "I'm not convincing anyone of anything. I'm just telling stories." And then he goes on to tell another story. This time, it's a story that took place in 1983. And according to Domo, it is a story of how the KKK or some similar group made the mistake of targeting a vampire. Then, once they realized the mistake that they had made, they offered up their family as a sacrifice. Yeah, you heard me right. Well, what happens next? Let's find out.
Crap that they just decided to give their entire family.
Am I convincing people that vampires exist, or am I just telling stories?
Both.
Who's to say? Here's another story. The story I'm about to tell takes place in 1983, and seeing as how I was born in 1987, I cannot be implicated here. It's just a story. There was a guy named David, and David and his buddies used to drive around their neighborhood looking for people who didn't look like them. They would throw rocks out of their windows, they would walk past you and punch you randomly. They beat up people in dark alleys, all that type of shit. One day, though, they picked the wrong person to fight. This person just so happened to be a vampire. Let's call them Vic. David and his buddies attacked Vic, and that attack quickly turned into a fight for their life. As far as I was told, limbs were torn off. David was the last man standing, and as the weasel he was, he started to beg and plead for his life in ways that he shouldn't have. David knew what Vic was. Vic didn't have to tell him. He saw it. David said he would offer up his family as a sacrifice to save his own life. Vic could have just ended David right there, but Vic was a very petty and vindictive vampire, and he had all the time in the world. Vic said that he accepted David's offer, but would need that sacrifice as soon as possible. They got into David's car, which used to be occupied by him and his buddies looking for victims, and now it's occupied by David and a would-be victim. They almost didn't make it to David's house. Vic stared at David the entire ride. And as a result of the staring, David was nervous. Because he was nervous, he was sweating. And every drop of sweat smelled like food for Vic. When they got to the house, they waited in David's living room for his wife and his children to get home from school. When the wife and kids finally got home from school, the wife said to David, "What's going on here? Who's this stranger?" She obviously had no idea what was going on. David said nothing. It was as if he was just waiting for Vic to do what Vic said he came over to do. Vic looks at the wife and the children and he greets them. He says hello. And then he turns to David and asks, "You weren't even going to say goodbye?" The wife is now scared, very unsure of what's happening. Vic then explains the entire situation to the wife. He explains who he is, what he is, and why he's there. At first, she doesn't believe him, but David's silence spoke volumes. Vic then gives the wife an ultimatum. He says, "I can either do what David thinks I'm